Hello, I'm Jamie Buckland with the West Virginia Few Families United for Education, talking with Judy from Sonlight. Judy, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started with Sonlight Curriculum?
I would love to. Thanks for having me, Jamie. I'm actually a retired homeschool mom of three children who also now have their own children that they're homeschooling. So, homeschooling has been part of our family life for close to 30 years now. Um,
Wow.
I used Sonlight Curriculum with all of our children, and so we successfully took them from kindergarten all the way through to graduation. In the midst of doing that, I was so passionate about the program that I began working for the company. And so I've been with Sunlight in a variety of different positions and wearing different hats for about 25 years now.
Wow, that's awesome. So I was first introduced to Sunlight, I want to say at the first homeschool conference that I went to. I think it was even in West Virginia, maybe in Morgantown. It would have been like 2007, 2008, something like that. And I just remember, this is my confession. I am an extrovert that has a hard time sitting down to read. I know, so this is my stack. I have read these, I have read these books, but I can just remember being intimidated by that. And I say all of this to say that I finally got over myself and started sitting down and reading aloud to my children and engaging in the works and having conversations. I was a little bit of a hard sell to a literature based learning. And so, can you speak a little bit about what it looks like for the parent to use this literature based curriculum?
Sure. Well, typically I start off by explaining what a literature based curriculum is because not everyone is familiar with that terminology. So, most of us, when we went to school, we learned from textbooks. We learned history from a textbook and most of our subjects that way. One of the drawbacks to a textbook education is that children tend to memorize dates and facts and they hang on to them long enough to spit them back on the test, and then that information is gone forever. One of the benefits of literature based learning is that when you take information and you wrap it into a story, you create an emotional connection for that student. You give that information context. It's not just random dates and names sitting out there somewhere. All of which means children retain that information longer, and it's a whole lot more interesting and exciting way to learn as opposed to a textbook. And so Sunlight has curated books around different time periods in history, from preschool all the way to the end of high school, grade 12. We have taken those books and created teacher's guides, instructor's guides, with a schedule already prepared for you, so you don't have to figure out how many pages of this book do I need to read each day to get the book done in a reasonable time. We also include teaching notes, background for the books, additional interesting facts, vocabulary, timeline dates that students can add to their timeline that they build all the way through school, geography, lessons, so geographic locations where an event is taking place that they put on the markable map that's part of the program, so they have some sense of where in the world all of this is going on. So the bottom line is we basically have taken this unique form of learning, and we are the original literature-based program, and we have created that into a yearly program for students from preschool to grade 12, for which you need to do no planning or work other than opening it, pulling the books on the shelf, and going.
Yeah. What does an average day for a parent look like, or for the child, when they are engaging with Sunlight? That is their core curriculum. That's what they're using. Because, and if I'm correct, it's a whole package. If you choose Sunlight, you've got that whole package that's been selected for you, prescribed for you, so that you can engage with that. So if you could paint a picture of what that looks like for the family at home.
Sure. And actually, we do have whole packages. We also have smaller packages, and you can buy individual subject packages from us.
Okay.
And those packages are customizable. So we help you fit them to your family's unique needs. So, what a day looked like at my house when I was teaching Sonlight, my husband worked nights. And so he would come home in the morning just after our kids got up. And while they were eating breakfast, we would read the Bible lesson for the day and have some conversation. And then kids would stay right at the table and Dad would teach math, because math is a foreign language for me, but it was his strong suit. And so he would teach math to them. We probably spent 20 to 30 minutes on math, no more, depending on how old, what grade levels we were looking at. And then the kids had some work that they would do independently in their math workbooks. Then we would take a break to shake out the wiggles. And the next thing we would do would be to sit down and work on another, what we call table subject, something that was skill-based, like language arts, or maybe they had a writing project that they needed to work on. Then after that was done, much of our morning was finished. And so we would all work together to get lunch, and they would sit down, and while they were eating and their hands and their mouths were busy, I would read out loud to them, whatever the read aloud was for that day or the history was for that day. And I had their undivided attention, and we would have conversation about what we were reading, go to the map to find things if we needed to. And then in the afternoons, we would typically work on something for science a couple days a week. So Sonlight Science is very hands-on and also literature-based. So we would read together and then maybe work on an activity or an experiment. All told, again, depending on the grade level, we probably spent a morning, maybe 3.5 hours together, working on various aspects of academics. We would share lunch together. We would share whatever project we worked on in the afternoon. But typically by 1 o'clock or so, we were pretty much done, until we got to the high school levels where kids had much bigger projects they were working on or part-time jobs they were leaving for. But that was pretty much the way it went. And if you look at our website, we will actually tell you approximately how much time you as the parent can expect to invest and your students can expect to invest each day for all of your subjects.
I think when I look at the options that are out there, when I think about Sonlight, especially for families in West Virginia right now who may be jumping into homeschooling for the very first time, what I think that it provides is that schedule and the sustainability, if you will, that these teachers have walked before you. These homeschooling families have been doing this curriculum now for decades. And so there's an ability to kind of lean into that and trust that somebody had thought of this before. We're not having to recreate the wheel. And then it frees up the parent to just be the instructor for the child and be that lead learner. And, I don't have any higher education. So often I think that for new homeschooling families, they may be a little bit intimidated. But I have several close friends who have homeschooled with Sonlight all the way up. And what they've shared with me is that they were just learning alongside their children and reading those stories and engaging in that material. So I'm excited for families to be able to learn more about Sonlight. Where do they go? What is the website to learn more?
It would be www.sonlight, and that's spelled SONLIGHT.com.
Okay. And how does it work? Is there a customer service that they could call and actually talk with someone as well? Are there guides that they can be connected with?
Absolutely. So we have a team of specially trained advisors. These are all homeschool moms who have educated, and most of them have graduated their students from Sonlight. and they are available via live chat during regular business hours. You can email them, you can text them, you can talk to them on the phone, whatever works easiest for you. And they are happy to walk through explaining what Sonlight is, talking with you about an education plan that's specific to your family, helping you choose materials. And then once you make a curriculum decision and you drop all those products into your shopping cart on our site, they'll actually review it for you and make sure you haven't missed anything or duplicated anything, and let you know that your order is ready to go.
Wonderful, because that is a barrier that I've struggled with when it comes to ordering. I have multiple times ordered the same thing that I actually maybe even didn't need, but then I'm missing a teacher's guide or a reader that was supposed to go along with it. So I love that you guys kind of hold their hand a little bit to make sure that they have everything that they need. Well, Judy, thank you so much for sharing about Sonlight Curriculum with our families. I appreciate you taking the time to do so. And I look forward to hearing more from families when they choose to use Sonlight. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.